Yeah, what else?
Well, when we first got together, one of the questions that you asked me was,
If you were willing to move to Kenya with me.
yeah. And so living long distance, being in a long distance relationship was a question that actually didn't have to come up because,
But I think no, it had to come up because I knew that I did not want to live in the United States.
no,
Like,
rephrase that. Because it's not that you don't want to live here.
no, it's not. Okay. Yeah. Like in that moment that I wanted to graduate from college and go back home.
Yeah.
Like I did not want to graduate from college and still keep living in the United States.
Okay.
So I had made a 5-year plan that I was going to graduate college and then move back to Kenya indefinitely.
Which we did.
Which we did.
Indefinitely, which indefinite turned out to be a year and a half. And I presume at some point we'll go back again. But this question of living, being together and being in a long distance relationship, and you, like, when you brought it up with me, one of the things I remember, you were like nervous. You were like, and you didn't ask me early on. Like we'd been together. It was around the time when we were talking about you moving in that you're like, this is a really hard question for me to
I
ask you.
feel like you forgot. I feel like I asked you on our fast date.
You asked me if I would be willing to like do something like that or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like,
And you were like,
absolutely.
yeah,
I
I'm
was
so
like,
excited
yeah, I was
about
like-
it.
Because my plan was, the year you were planning on moving back to Kenya, my plan was to hop on a bicycle and ride it around the world. So the idea of moving to Kenya it's very different from riding a bike around the world, but it's not as different as moving to Kenya or staying in Los Angeles and doing the work I was doing.
Yeah.
So
And so first, one of the things you said, yes, you would be willing, but you still wanted to ride your bike for half the year
I did.
and then join me after 6 months in Kenya.
Well, the problem was it would probably take more than 6 months. And you're like, wait, what? That's such a long time to be away from you. And by that time, it was actually a process. Because at first, like, I'm riding my bike around the world. And then you're like, how long is it going to take? I was like, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years. And you're like, wait, what? Like, I don't want to be apart from you from that long. And I was like, okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do instead. I will ride my bike to Patagonia, and then I will take a boat to South Africa, and then I'll ride up the coast of the east coast of Africa, and I'll meet you in Kenya.
And I was like,
And you're like, okay. No, you said, okay.
did I say okay?
You did. And then the idea was kind of like, that sounds like a good compromise. And then like a while later, we're talking about it again. You're like, wait, how long is that going to take? I was like, 9 months maybe. And you're like, wait, 9 months? We're going to be apart for 9 months? Like, that's too long. I was like, all right, fine. I'll just move to Kenya with you. But I say that also knowing that to me at that point, like, I didn't want to be away from you for 9 months either.
Aw.
At this point,
Yeah.
might be a good idea after COVID, like 9 months on, 9 months off, 9 months on, 9 months off might be okay.
Yeah, but I had dated a guy, and I think that's kind of like where I'm like, I don't want to do long distance relationship, like such a long distance. Like I dated this guy. I was living in Los Angeles, and he was living in Paris, and we met on Tinder, and we went on a date, and then he was like, I really like you, and I really liked him, and he was like, let's keep doing this. And then after a couple months, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know?
It's like the only way I think a long distance relationship works is if there's like a clear plan to actually be together at some like point. Like also if you're younger and you're say someone is we're going to go get a PhD somewhere, go get a master's degree. And it's like, that means we're going to be gone for, 3 months, then come back and kind of like, as long as there's a plan.
I know. And I
think
was
it
just
can
like,
work, but without
I don't see myself moving to Paris for this man. And I didn't see him moving to Kenya or moving to Los Angeles for me. And I was like, I'm wasting my time here.
Right. Because now it becomes like, what's more important to you, me or this career? And you knew that you needed to be you knew you weren't going to Paris. He wasn't going to go to
Yeah,
your
I was
places,
not
so-
going to quit. I was
so that
not
was
going to
easy.
quit school. I was like, in my last year of school, I was not going to quit school and go live with him.
Also, sorry, keep going.
No.
No, because the other thing is that if you're like, you know what, I'm going to leave everything for you, that's also a little bit crazy.
I know. I'm not that kind of type of person. Like
if I was like, to me, like that whole thing of make this decision to live here or live there, whatever, that's almost like that's too much.
yeah.
Like I wouldn't want you to do that unless you actually wanted to, which is why when I agreed to move to Kenya, we had to be like, I didn't move for you.
we had to have.
I had to make it so that I was also moving for me. That way, when we hit rough patches there, when there were challenges, it was like, I couldn't blame you because I 100% chose this.
Yeah. And so, and then there was like like when I think about long distance relationship, there's the investment for like being hours on the phone, you know, and it just was like, wait, I can't do this. Like, I need like connection. And yeah, we're like recording this during COVID-19 where like all the connection and intimacy is happening over Zoom or over the phone. But when it comes to my intimate connection, like I feel like at this point, the longer I want to be apart from you is like a couple weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah, we've done up to 2 months so far. And that's like, that gets a little tough.
It
as
does.
It gets close to 2 months. We got better at it because there was a 2 months and then a 3 weeks and then a 3 weeks. And we probably have another like a month coming up here pretty soon where we'll be apart. But we also have the added benefit of that benefit, you in air quotes, of that when we are together because we are like, we have been for the last year and a half. We live together, we work together, we're in the same office, we like do everything. So
we go on walks together. Like we literally do everything together. So when we get that break of not being together, it almost feels like a vacation.
Yeah, I thank you for saying that because if I had, we know that particularly when the clips go out on TikTok, I would have been eviscerated. But I'm actually really kind of excited about having a little time.
Yeah, I think it's important to have like our own time. I'm excited to be like in the next couple of weeks when I go to LA that we're gonna be apart for those couple of weeks.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Yeah.
But then again, like going back, I think that one of the things with a long distance relationship is that both people, and you and I had this, like both people actually have to be willing to make the sacrifice to give up whatever you have where you are and go. And then one person has to do that, right? So like in some ways, I changed my plans because of you, right?
Yeah.
So you had your plans, I made the change. Otherwise, you would have come on a bike ride with me around the world and we would be somewhere in like Uzbekistan right now.
Do you see this face? Riding a bicycle around the world.
I don't think anybody watching sees this face riding a bicycle around the world. In fact, when you generally look at people who have ridden their bikes around the world, they have faces that are kind of like this. They might have more scraggly hair up top, but in general, they're like bearded and they kind of look like this.
I'm like, why would I choose to do that? Like my kind of vacation is going to a resort and sitting next to swimming pool, having my Thai.
Oh, there you go. So I feel
and
like
mimosas.
But I feel like both of us, like you weren't willing to make a change, but I was, and I could actually choose your thing. But if it was like whatever my plan was as important to me as your plan was to you, you actually would have had to have been willing to give yours up for me. It doesn't mean we would have had to do it, but I feel like one of the healthy pieces, and you brought that up in other areas of our lives, like you have to be if it's super important to me, you have to be really willing to consider it. It doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
But you have to truly and honestly consider it.
Yeah, it was I appreciate you saying that because it was like really important to me to move back home.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like, okay, it's an adventure, and I was ready for that adventure. But the long distance thing, if I'd been riding now, also riding around the world, that's a bit of an adventure, and I feel like there are certain things where they can go because there's also an end point. It's not like I'm living in California and you're living in Kenya, and we like Skype in the mornings and Skype in the evening, like that would be like put a bullet in my head. I would definitely, if I felt like I had to be here in California and work here, and you felt like you had to be in Kenya and work there,
indefinitely,
and neither of us were willing to compromise that, then the relationship's over for me.
Yeah, I agree.
I would be done. So one other thing that came up,
I always make this joke, and I've made it with like my employees, and I always say to them that I want you to document your work so that anybody else can do this job if you get hit by a bus.
Yep. And what happens if I get hit by a bus?
And like I need to be able to, everyone else life that you're leaving behind, their life needs to go on. And so I don't know if I want to say that. Like, what if you got hit by a bus and you became a vegetable?
Would you stay with me?
Would I stay with you?
I got to tell you. So would you?
I think I would. Because
You're just saying that so
No,
that
'cause
TikTok doesn't get mad at you.
Oh my God. No, I think I'm saying that because I am a person who feels like guilty. Like, I don't think consciously I could make the choice to leave you because you are like you're vegetable now. Like,
Did you ever see that movie with Tom Hanks, Castaway, where he's like lost on a desert or on an island for years before he gets found, and like then he has a wife back home, and was she going to move on, and that was kind of his whole thing, right? Like pretty. So that's a little bit of a question, right? Like if I went into a vegetative state, and what if I was there for 10 years and then I woke up and I'm like, hey, babe, and you're like, oh, by the way, I divorced you while you were in a vegetative state, and now meet Jack.
my new husband, my new lover, the man I've been entangled to for the last 10 years.
And guess what? Bonus, I have no STDs. And he didn't squander all my money. And we live in the same town.
Oh my God. This is dark. This is dark. But would you leave me if I got hit by a bus tomorrow?
I want to go back. If you got hit by a bus tomorrow, no, I wouldn't leave you tomorrow. But the question is when. Okay? And at some point, I don't know if I would or not. I'm also a little bit older than you are. I kind of feel like even just in my life in general that I've had such an amazing and blessed life that if I died tomorrow, like I'm fine. I wouldn't feel like there are many things that I want to be able to see.
I'm not ready to die.
I'm not ready. I don't want to die, but if I die, I'm okay with going. Okay? So that also means that if I got hit by a bus and I was in a vegetative state, after a certain point, I pray that you would leave me and like actually move on without guilt. That would be my prayer, because I'm a vegetable. I'm not going to bring anything. And if I wake up in 10 years from now, we can still be I'll still be your friend. I'll still like you. It's what I would want. So actually, for the record, at a certain point, and you have to decide when that point is, but I don't think it's 10 years. Literally tomorrow, you're 35. Would you wait till you were 45 before you left me and whatever and actually moved on? I don't know. That's tough. Also, by the way, pull the plug, but sometimes you're going to be in a vegetative state and you don't need to be on, I guess, no, you still do. Don't even let me be in a vegetative state for 10 years, by the way.
I think I would not want to be in a vegetative state for 10 years.
Pull the plug after, I don't know, a year. Don't leave me.
Oh, no,
I
think I would let you be in the 2 years.
No way. I just don't want to, no. I don't want to be in diapers, for 2 years while some, nurse...
Okay. Now I feel like we're getting too deep and it's getting super sad.
Anyway, but no, I would I leave you?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would, but at a certain point, my question would be, me holding on to somebody who is in a vegetative state, is that actually benefiting me and you? I'm saying, I don't want you to hold on. I would not want that at all. To me, the worst thing I could imagine is waking up. What if I woke up 10 years later and you were still by my bedside or something, and you had been holding on for 10 years? I'd be like, what are you doing? Get on with your life. 10 years? More than a quarter of your life you have dedicated to your love to somebody that can't move? That's ridiculous. No.
You're very kind. So if it happens, I will move on very quickly next week. Oh my God.
So whatever it is for you too, we'd actually love to hear. Are there certain things, what do you think about these things? The entanglement question. It's out there now.
And is it? And sometimes I wonder, is it wrong that we think about these things?
Everybody thinks about it, I think. Whether or not you talk about it, whether you sometimes something might be I don't want to think about that, right? So, but it's not just because you say that's something I don't want to think about it doesn't mean you're not thinking about it. It means that you're actively avoiding thinking about it because you're afraid of what you might come to, what your conclusions will be. And so, but you still think about it, and then you're like, no, I'm not thinking about that. Well, go ahead and think about it.
Got it. Yeah.
So that is this week's crazy episode of 5 things that could or could not make us leave each other. So anyway, stay in touch. By the way, we do have a Facebook group. It's the Interracial Couple Facebook group. You can find us there. We have conversations. We're building a community for other interracial couples. So join us there. And, remember, wherever you're watching or listening this, subscribe, and we will see you next week.
Yes. And if you're watching on our YouTube channel, we're really looking to get to 100 subscribers this week. So please go ahead and subscribe.
All right. Have a good one.